Everyone, this is Jay Kyram, Director of Programs with National Association of Counties. Also for our West Coast participants, good morning. Happy Monday for everyone out there. Thank you all for joining us on today's webinar titled Census 2020 Outreach Solutions for Counties to Reach Hard to Count and Hard to Reach Communities. As I mentioned, my name is Jay Kyram, and I'm Director of Programs in the County Innovation Lab at National Association of Counties. NACO is a membership organization that works to advance the interests of county governments through federal advocacy, technical assistance, and effectively using county resources and taxpayer dollars to improve outcomes for individuals and communities. Today we're talking about census and the important work that we're trying to advance in highlighting county leadership and driving participation and achieving a fair and accurate full count amongst counties and their communities across the country. We have some great guests scheduled for presentations and discussions today. Before I wanted to get into the guests, I wanted to go over a couple of technical details to make sure everyone can view the webinar correctly. So first, to the right of your screen, you will notice there is a control panel. In this panel, there is a questions box. Please use this box to type in questions for the Q&A session or at any time to send us a message if you're experiencing technical difficulties. To expand the questions box, just click on the small triangle to the left of the word questions. If you're having any technical problems, we will respond to you privately to help resolve any questions. You can collapse the control panel to better view the presentation by just clicking the small red arrow in the top left corner. To re-expand the panel, just click on the small red arrow again. After the speakers have concluded their presentations, there will be a question and answer period. You'll use that same questions box we described a minute ago to submit your questions. Please feel free to enter questions at any time, and I'll ask as many as possible during the Q&A session. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the NACO website at www.naco.org/webinars for future viewing and review. Immediately following the webinar, you will see a pop-up box with a webinar evaluation. We'd like to thank you in advance for taking a few minutes to complete the evaluation survey. Your feedback is essential on these webinars and helpful to informing our future programming. So like I said, we're doing a conversation today on Census 2020 and outreach solutions. We have, to start us off, Judge Jason Brinkley from Cook County, Texas. Judge Jason Brinkley is a county judge in Cook County. Prior to being elected as county judge, he served as a justice of peace for the Cook County from 2009 through 2014. Jason holds a JD from Oklahoma City University School of Law and a bachelor's degree in political science from Texas A&M with a minor in economics. He's a licensed attorney and member of the State Bar College of Texas. Jason was born and raised in Cook County, and his family ties to the county going back over 6 generations. He's an active member in NACO and serves as vice chair of the Rural Action Caucus and as member of the board of directors. Jason is also the co-chair of the NACO Census 2020 Working Group, along with a number of his peers across the country. So with that, I'm going to pass the mic over to Judge Brinkley and get started on our presentation. Judge.
Thank you, Jay. Good afternoon, everyone. Like he said, my name is Jason Brinkley, and I'm the county judge of Cook County. Cook County is a rural county in Texas of approximately 40,000 people. I also serve as co-chair of NACO's 2020 Census Working Group. I'm pleased to join you today to talk about an important discussion on digital and phone-based solutions to driving the 2020 census turnout. Before I get to the presenter, I want to take just a moment and talk to you why the census matters to counties and a little bit about what we're doing in our community. As you're aware, the census is mainly used, or a big chunk of the census is used to inform the allocation of nearly $1 billion in federal funding. These funds are important to support our communities to provide a variety of services ranging from education to workforce development to child care. The census is also essential in informing representation for political subdivisions at all levels, and is a key resource for businesses, healthcare, researchers, and local governments in local planning and assessments. The census is a key civic exercise, and the need to support all stakeholders is vital to having an accurate count. In our community of Cook County, we're focusing, we've got a large Latino population, and that is one of the driving focuses, is to make sure that they are accurately counted. In doing that, we're working with a lot of stakeholders, including educational resources, as well as religious stakeholders, and really community leaders in those particular organizations and entities that those individuals really have a good working relationship with. And we're also doing that in some of our very rural areas of the county that have historically had low turnout. At this point, I'm excited to welcome Perla Nee of the Community Connections Lab. The Community Connections Lab is a mobile and digital technologies center that allows governments to connect with hard-to-reach populations. They have developed a mobile messaging platform that is an easy way for local governments to deploy in providing multilingual information on the census, and offer help desk resources and collect information for follow-up governments. They also built partnership with counties across California and Utah. Perla is a founder and CEO of Community Connections Lab, the Census Outreach Project, and great nonprofits. Previously, she founded the Stanford Social Innovations Review, the leading journal for nonprofit management and philanthropy. She served on numerous boards, including Goodwill, American Charities, and Network for Good. She holds a JD from Harvard Law and a BA from UC Berkeley. So I'm going to pass the mic to you, Perla, and let you get started.
Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. I really appreciate the opportunity to present to you all today. As you guys have just heard, the census is really important and is coming up really fast. 2020, we're less than really 5 months away from the launch of the census in many of your communities. So I'm going to try to forward my slides here. Lindsay, I think I might need your help. I seem to be stuck on this slide. Can you guys see my slides forwarding?
Yeah, if you just click, there you go.
Thank you. So today we're going to talk about really practical tools to support your census strategy that we're working with other counties to launch. We're going to spotlight one of our county partners, and then we're going to get a chance to hear your questions about how you would like to roll out the census in your counties. Thank you for the introduction. We're a nonprofit boutique software provider, and we really focus on helping counties and nonprofits connect with hard-to-reach individuals. In addition to census, our expertise really comes from our many years of work on EITC outreach, low-income utilities outreach, workforce training. Most recently, we're working on public charge assistance, as well as homeless assistance. So in all of this work, it's unified by our understanding of hard-to-reach communities, low-income populations, populations with limited English proficiency, and the best way to reach these communities. We work with many partners in our work, including for census with the state of Minnesota, King County, City of North Chicago, Hawaii Community Foundation, as well as technology companies like Microsoft, and we also partner with the U.S. Census Bureau. So let me tell you a story about how this all started for us. This was in Rhode Island during the one and only end-to-end census test. We were there for the local update of census addresses, which many of you guys I know were involved in, where we conducted on-the-ground training for over 1,500 people across the country, including those in Rhode Island. So we were in Rhode Island doing on-the-ground canvassing to collect data for LUCA updates. And what we understood from Rhode Island, Central Falls, was that they were getting so many phone calls from their residents. And why? Because the practice test had just dropped the census invitation mailers that week. The phones were ringing off the hook at the city of Central Falls, their offices, because people do not distinguish between different levels of government, as you guys are quite aware. People don't know who the Census Bureau is, and they're used to just calling their local government. So they called the local city, and the city was inundated with phone calls from people in various languages during peak times, such as lunchtime, when the city staff also needed to take their lunch breaks as well. And so it was really apparent to us that if this was going to be repeated, even on a larger scale across the entire country when the real census came, that there would be a huge need for local governments to be able to answer people's questions. Even in 2010, there were millions of questions about the census. So there was 4.5 million questions about the census in 2010. And we believe that it would take nearly 244,000 human hours to answer those questions. So some of those questions are questions such as, where can I get my paper form? Because this will be the first time that this will be a digital invitation that many people will receive. Other questions, common questions are questions such as, if I am biracial, how do I fill out this form? So we developed our first solution, which is the Census QA help desk. And now I'm going to show you a quick video about how this works.
Most government and library staff lack the resources to support the volume or language needs of people with questions about the census. CommunityConnect Lab's automated question and answer help desk will reduce the burden on your staff. The help desk can be installed on any website. Residents will be empowered to get in-language answers quickly, confidentially, and on their own. And even without broadband or a computer at home, individuals can text in to get answers, referrals to in-person help, and reminders to follow up. Available 24/7 and on apps where people already communicate with friends and family, the help desk not only answers questions to help ensure a complete count, but also frees up staff to focus their time and efforts on those who need the most help getting counted.
So it is available in multiple languages because we understand the diverse needs of many of your constituents in your counties. And it's available both via web, or for those folks that do not have access to internet or a computer, it's available on SMS, which 98% of folks in the United States use almost daily to communicate. So it's very friendly for people who are affected by the digital divide. And then if people are not able to get a satisfactory answer, this gets routed to in-person help, personal help. I think this is particularly important for counties because libraries are going to be strained by the number of people coming to use the libraries to fill out their census. In addition, libraries that we've spoken to have told us that they don't even have staff training time to train all of their staff librarians to answer all these questions. So the pain points around limited time for staff training as well as limited language capability is one that we're really hoping that tools like this could alleviate the burden on librarians. And it's very simple to add this web chatbot to any website, whether that's a county website or a library website or other types of local government website. Next, I'm going to talk about a tool called the Community Motivator. And this tool is really around the insight that many of you guys know from marketing, which is that it actually takes about 8 interactions or touch points with people for them to actually take action on something. I know that many counties are doing a fantastic job in terms of funding field work and outreach at a person-to-person level. And we think that is absolutely necessary, but not sufficient. Because once someone comes to you at a health fair, for instance, and they have a really good experience and now understand what the census is, then they go away. And you don't see them in March or April. And how do you follow up with them to remind them to take the census? So here's a short video about the pledge to be counted.
Getting the word out about the census can be easy, but following through is more difficult. With CommunityConnect Lab's Community Motivator, organizations can build and grow their contact list to remind constituents to complete the census. Respondents text in via SMS or on apps where they already communicate with friends and family. After pledging to be counted, they are automatically opted in to receive reminders and can share their pledge card on social media. In 2020, residents will receive updates when it's time to fill out the census and get follow-up messages to show them how to do so. They can also be referred to in-person help nearby if they need assistance. With a community motivator, families from anywhere and everywhere can be motivated and activated to fill out the census in order to ensure a fair and accurate count.
All right. So the opt-in portion of this is kind of fun. This gives folks their own personalized digital pledge card that they can then share on their social media, and it's available in multiple languages. And we'll do a quick demo of that afterwards. And then lastly, I want to talk about a very often neglected topic, which is field staff recruiter. This is probably not well known just because, you know, I think most local governments and nonprofits think that the job of hiring is really up to the Census Bureau. And unfortunately, you know, the Census Bureau needs a lot of help. So in 2010, here's one quote by a local county official about enumerators and their effectiveness. We worked with the Census Bureau on a opportunity project. We're really looking at what are the ways in which we can improve field staff recruitment. Why is this, first of all, important? First of all, one census worker is responsible to getting 300 people counted. So that is extraordinary leverage. Second of all, because of expected low self-response rates, 40% of the count is projected to be brought in by these enumerators. We believe that by hiring census enumerators from hard-to-count communities who can then conduct in-person enumeration, especially in bilingual communities with those language familiarities, then we're likely to increase census participation. So we created a field staff recruitment tool that builds, engages, and supports a pipeline of qualified staff, field staff candidates. What this does is that it helps simplify the job application process, because unlike previous years, the application process has now also completely moved online, including an online training and assessment, which many of the candidates are not used to. It directs qualified candidates to the census application. It connects into local resources. It keeps them motivated, informed about a complex federal hiring process, and it provides very practical tips. So tips such as the question that many, all the male candidates get, which is the question, what is your selective service number? Most folks do not know what their selective service number is, so we actually provide a website for men to look up those selective service numbers. We worked with California Adult Education to pilot this tool, and we were able to quickly get over 600 participants in 20 California adult education schools to go through this pipeline. And what we found was that not only was there a very high level of engagement, but of the candidates who applied, they represented more than 34 languages. In fact, more than 60% of the people who went through this process spoke a second language. So I'm going to go and jump to a spotlight on one of the counties that we work with, and which is San Mateo County. They just recently launched the Community Motivator tool at the countywide census kickoff. There were more than 100 attendees of nonprofits, of elected local officials. And what they did was that, as you can see, they provided the number to text to and the keyword and allowed people to take the digital pledge to be counted. They also had promotional flyers about the tool that was distributed after the event. They plan to be using this tool county-wide to get folks to opt in to received text information about the census, not only now, but also crucially to receive these reminders in March and April when people will be getting their census invitational materials. Of the folks who opted in to this flow and answered a couple of questions about where they live and why they want to take the census, we had an over 75% completion rate, which is really, really high. Now I'm going to show you other ways that these tools are getting marketed. So in flyers and print, it's very simple for nonprofits that you may be working with to simply add this call to action in any of their flyers. At events, simply promoting the text number and the text word that opts people in to receive these types of follow-up messages. And then on social media, we provide nonprofits and county governments with sample marketing templates and messages that you can easily use to get the word out. So now for a fun part of this, we're going to do a quick demo so you can actually see how this tool works. So if you guys can take out your cell phones, this is the only time where at a meeting you're allowed to take out your cell phones and text the word pledge to the number 987-987. And the word census to 987-987. So again, the word is census and the number is 987-987. And what you'll get is a couple of questions about your zip code and your first name and why you want to be counted in the census. How's it going? The last question should be asking for your name, and then it'll take about 2 or 3 seconds, and it should generate a digital pledge card for you. Great. All right. So that is the pledge card that you can share on your social media, on your Facebook and Twitter. And that is, and now you have also opted in to receive follow-up messages in March and April. We've also been working with some counties that want to customize the messaging that may be going out between now and then, and we're very flexible and open to doing that as well. All right, so with that fun demo, let's see. I will take questions. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Perla. This is Jason Brinkley again. I got one question, being a probably the first question that local community leaders would ask, especially on the local government side, is first of all, this is a lot of great information, a lot of great apps. I participated in it and look forward to continuing to get notices. Is there a cost to local governments, and if so, kind of broadly speaking, what is that cost?
Yeah, so for local governments, our pricing start at $19,000. And we really try to make it affordable based upon the population size of your county. And that includes services, training, as well as software, secure hosted software, and all the marketing templates that you guys need. We work a lot with local counties, and we understand you are strapped in terms of funding as well as staff time. And so we really try to provide an all-in-one resource for you to remove and lessen the burdens on you for doing the census outreach.
Great, thanks. I think that with the numbers I threw around earlier about the $1 billion worth of federal funding, I think it just shows that even a small undercount for even a rural county such as ourselves, the local investment by local leaders is going to be imperative to make sure that return on investment is there for the census for the next 10 years. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Jay. I think you may have some more questions that we had presented.
Sure. Thank you, Perla, and thank you, Judge Brinkley, for a great presentation. What an exciting tool. One question that we were back and forth on, and before I get to that, just encourage participants in the webinar, please type in your questions into the questions box. We'll get to them as soon as we get them. So there's an opportunity to sort of get directly to Perla and Judge Brinkley with any burning hot items you might have. But for you, Perla, one of the questions we had is the assumption is that local governments can keep the data collected. Is that data that is produced, is it easy to use and really take action with that data?
Yeah, absolutely. So the data is owned by you, and whether or not you want to keep it, use it, destroy it, totally up to you in terms of your data policies. We worked with counties for LUCA, ranging from Salt Lake County to LA County, and in those cases, what we did was that we just delivered all the collected data to the county, and then we wiped whatever was on our servers clean after the LUCA process. So we are very sensitive to your data policy needs and your security needs. So we defer to kind of the individual counties' data collection policies.
Great. Another question that's come up. So in your experience, what skills, expertise should counties have in place to best utilize the data and information gathered from the outreach and using this tool?
That is such a great question. The population that is being reached for census outreach, kind of this focus on hard to reach communities, many of these folks are the same folks who are looking for or already using other types of county services, including, DHS services, for instance, or, Parks and Rec services or the libraries. And so I think that the contact information from these folks could be really valuable if you have agencies within your county that are interested in outreach to these communities on other issues. So you can imagine these folks are opting in to receive census information, but we can add an additional opt-in to ask them, hey, would you like to receive other types of information about free services and programs from your local X county? And if they provide that kind of opt-in, then the county would have ability to send them information about other types of county programs and services. So I think it could be really valuable to these other agencies within departments within the county. And so to the extent that there are data analysts or communications folks in these other departments who are interested in outreach to the same population, I think those staff members would be very motivated to be able to make use of the data.
Great. And again, please encourage folks to submit questions via the question box. We can go over the instructions if you're having some challenges there. We just got another question come in regarding if you could sort of walk through the procurement process that took place with San Mateo County, just so we can have an example of how a local government could get access to this resource.
Sure. And I forgot to mention that the help desk, we contracted with King County up in Washington State. So we have 2 counties that we're working with currently. And then we contracted with the state of Minnesota, the city of North Chicago, and then in the process of contracting with other states and counties across the country. So we can work with government in 3 ways. One, we are a nonprofit. So we are actually can be eligible for grants or subgrants as a nonprofit. 2, we have sole source justification available for many of these tools. So we can provide you with a letter for sole source justification. And then 3, we can also work under, some of the larger counties have these PR contracts. So we can also work as a subcontractor to a prime contractor that you guys have delegated some of the census outreach work for. So we are super flexible in how we contract with you. And we, in the case of, any of these scenarios, we really try to make sure that, we understand your RFP thresholds and your RFP guidelines, and that the way that we contract with you is simple for you and can be quickly implemented. We understand the deadlines that you are under for our census, so we want to get this done as quickly and easily as you guys.
Great, thanks, Perla. Looks like those are the questions we've gotten. And I want to give you or Judge Brinkley a chance just to wrap up, if there's any parting words of wisdom or parting thoughts you have for the participants today before we formally wrap the webinar. So maybe I'll pass it to you, Judge Brinkley, if there's any closing words you'd like to offer, and then we can hand it over to our main speaker.
Thanks, Jay. The only thing I've got for those listening is don't wait, act now. Like Perla said earlier, the census is fast approaching, so the sooner you can come up with a time frame, a schedule, if you hadn't already come up with something on what your plan of action is, and it really does matter. So, a 1% undercount makes a huge difference in whether it's a rural county or a big county in the amount of potential funding coming into your county over the next 10 years. So if you haven't gotten involved in your communities, in your counties, be sure to do so. So Perla, I'll turn it over to you to let you close out.
Oh, thanks. Oh gosh, parting words. I think this is a once in a decade opportunity. This is 2.5 presidential elections. And then the data is frozen for the next 10 years. And as some of you guys already know, when you have an undercount, that affects everything that you guys are trying to do, including everything from funding for health clinics to roads to parks. And when I have talked to folks, my elected officials, that ROI on their investment in the census has been really able to sway them, and it seems to make a big difference on their budget allocations to counties on census outreach. So I think census is actually one of those things that are very quantifiable in terms of the ROI for counties to invest in that outreach. I know that traditionally this hasn't been in the domain of counties having to do this kind of outreach for census. It's been, traditionally been the job of the federal government, but these are new times, and it is our communities that are going to bear the burden of having this shackle on them for the next 10 years if they don't get counted. Our approach has always been that it's not just education and awareness, which nonprofits traditionally do and counties traditionally do. It's also about chasing people down in April and getting them to actually fill out the form. So in some ways, kind of the census is a combination of your typical public awareness program, but also of a kind of a political campaign in some ways, and that you have to really get people to take action and do something, and maintain those communication lines so that people are going to feel comfortable, people are going to feel inspired maybe, and motivated to take that census, and kind of removing every barrier that they're going to face when they open up that mailbox in April and get that letter. Many things are going to be going through people's minds when they open that mailbox. Questions around like, what is this? Is this real? Is this a scam? To opening it up and seeing the form and be like, oh, do I have to go online? Where do I go online to do this? And then when they do go online, how do I fill out this question? All these types of barriers to people filling out the census. It's really up to us to think about how can we remove those barriers so those local residents can get counted. So I'm here as a resource for you guys. Even if you don't want to buy any of our software, we make no money, so we're a nonprofit. So please feel free to contact us, info@censusoutreach.org. If you have any questions or you want to talk or you want to strategize, we're here to help you remove those barriers and get your residents counted. Thanks.